welcome. You're welcome to this video. In this video, I'm talking about the bubble, introduction to bubble for entrepreneurs and for non-technical founders, essentially. So let me just So for non-technical founders, if you're an entrepreneur, you want to build your company, you want to build your startup, you want to build your SaaS software, and you've heard about Bubble as a platform that can help you do just that. In this video, I want to walk you through the basics of Bubble, and in this series, hopefully, I look forward to being able to create with you content that will help you appreciate Bubble and go in depth into Bubble. So what is Bubble? Bubble is a no-code programming language. I call it a programming language because you can program with it. You're not coding, but you're programming. There's a difference. Programming is the art of creating computer programs. So you can create computer programs either by coding or by not coding, and Bubble falls in the not coding category, and it's called no code. What can you build with Bubble? Virtually any web application, even mobile applications. Yeah, you can build mobile applications with Bubble. And in fact, later this year, Bubble is releasing native support, or will be releasing native support for mobile applications. So the range of applications and software you can build with Bubble just has almost no limit. It keeps increasing, and for these reasons, this is a good time to learn Bubble. If you're considering it, this is a very good time to learn Bubble. So in this video, I'll walk you through an introduction to Bubble, and I would also be I'll walk you through it, and we'll be creating a to-do list app together. Give me a minute. Alright, yeah, sorry about that. So, let's understand some basics about Bubble. Now, Bubble can empower you to build full stack applications. Full stack applications are applications that have a back end and a front end, or a back stack and a front stack, or a server and a client relationship. Not to go into lingo or too much details, what that means is when you want to build an application that enables the user to sign up, for example, to sign up and access services on your platform after they sign up. Think about Dropbox, think about Gmail, think about LinkedIn, think about Facebook, think about Stripe. All of these are full stack applications because you sign up to use the platform, your data is stored on their server, is stored on Dropbox server or their computer, and then you can access it from a web browser or from your mobile phone. So these are where you're accessing it from is called the front end because you have an interface you can click around, and then based on the actions you take on the front end, it reflects in the back end. So say for example, you have a PayPal account, for example. I don't really like PayPal, to be honest, but let me just use them for the purpose of this video. You have a PayPal account, and you have the interface there, you have your balance showing, and then you want to send money to Tom. So when you send money to Tom, what happens is on the interface, the front end, you're saying, okay, send $100 to Tom. But then in the back end, PayPal has to store that information, have to record that information that, hey, you want to send $100 to Tom, so we'll remove $100 from your account and we'll send it to Tom. So the next time you log into PayPal, 1 year from now, 2 years from now, 1 week from now, you will see that your account is $100 less. That makes sense, right? So they need to store that information. And of course, the same thing, opposite. If someone sends you money, PayPal needs to store it on your user profile or on your user data that you received money. So whenever you just need to do is log in, and we can associate that user to you. So yeah, that's essentially how a web application will work. I have this nice graphic here that could explain it. It's not too, let me just try to bring up the graphic. Just a nice doodle here. Okay, alright. So yeah, on my screen you can see we have this analogy of an internet server computer PC here. My drawing skills are what I know, but we have this here. So this is a computer. Let's say this is PayPal. So this is the PayPal. This is their old infrastructure, yeah. So they have all your data on the company's computer, and they're referred to as a server. Then they send the data to your browser. Let's say this is Chrome. So they send it to Chrome whenever you log in, and then so you can see that whenever you throughout the period of interaction, there's a constant interaction from PayPal sending data via the internet to your PC, and your PC also sends requests back. So it's a flow of requests from the server to the client. So those are some languages you might hear when you're discussing a full stack web application, and of course, all of this is happening over the internet. So that and Bubble can enable you to do this kind of infrastructure. Bubble manages everything for you. By the way, this application you're looking at here, this is a Bubble. This is an application made of Bubble. So, but we're not going to get this complex in this video. In this video, you're going to make a simple to-do list. A simple to-do list app. So, what I will do is I will create a simple interface for what a to-do list app, what it should look like, and then we will try to build that out in Bubble. So I will create a task here. This is just to for management purposes. This is not any way related to Bubble. I'm just trying to get a sketch going for to-do app. So what I have in mind is you can have any UI, but this interface is just what I want. So I'm gonna have a bucket list of apps of tasks. Pardon me. So let me just call this to-do. Okay, and we're gonna have all our lists of tasks here. Okay, and then we will have another list here called done. So done, and then let me draw this out with a blue color. So we'll have done column here. So an app will move from to do to done. A task will move from to do to done. So we'll have the task name here, the name, and then we will simply have a check mark. Let me use green for that. We'll have a check mark here. So once the task will be created, and once it's created, we'll click on the check mark, and it will come here. So of course, we're going to be creating the task. Therefore, we need we could have a button here, a plus button, and with this plus button, you can simply click on it, and to show you a pop-up where you can enter the details about the task. So for our task, what are the things we need to have in our task? We need to have the name, obviously. So let me just put that in here. So task details, we need the name, number one, the name of the task. Then we need to know if it is completed or not. So is completed or not. It's completed. This will be probably a yes or no field. I mean, it's either completed or not. This is a text. The name is just a text. And then I think that's enough for now. I mean, it doesn't have to be too complex. There's the name and okay, we could also just put the date, the date it was created. So we can have, so just these three fields, just a very simple application. The name of the task, is the task complete, and the date is created. If it's not complete, it will be here. If it's completed, it will be here. So we're going to have a pop-up where whenever I click on this plus, the pop-up will show the, let me go back to my sketch pencil. You're going to have a red. So when you click on this, it will show a pop-up here. And then this is going to be a pop-up. And that's some weird pop-up. But you're going to have this pop-up, and then the pop-up will, essentially have forms in it where we can have the name and the light. This is not the best prototyping tool I know, but communicate the idea. So you enter the name and the date, the date you're creating it. Then you don't need to enter if it's completed or not. By default, when you're creating a task, we'll assume it is not completed. Only when you click on this button does it become completed. So with this, we're armed with this. Now we can jump into Bubble and start building. We have sort of our data schema here. We have a rough UI, and yeah, the world is ours for the taking. So let's jump into the Bubble editor and see what's even what does it look like? How do we build a bubble? Okay. So to get started with Bubble, just go to bubble.io. That's all. Let me type that in. www.io or bubble.io. And just go the old school way. www.bubble. No, not booking. Bubble.io. Yeah. So Bubble is a web-based interface itself. So you're gonna be accessing Bubble from your browser. Okay. So you need internet connections with Bubble. It's not like you're gonna be downloading anything. No. Just go to your browser, go to bubble.io. It's gonna be used to a similar interface like this. Now this is sort of like for me my major work or production kind of environment. So yours might be slightly different. As you can see, I work on quite a number of applications, but don't be inundated by that. When you come into this interface, you just want to do is click on build a new app. Don't worry about starting from a template. We just want to build it from scratch, keep everything easy. And I'm gonna name my app To Do. Yeah, just like that. You can name whatever you want. It doesn't matter. You can choose any name. You can name it grandma, grandpa, whatever. So To Do, and I'm gonna click on Get Started. And Bubble will do the magic of. So it's gonna bring up this. You can just start with basically your tablet structure. This is essentially just a promotion for you to try the advanced plan for free. But we are sufficient. We can build everything we want to build in this tutorial with even the free plan. Yeah, Bubble is that generous, so we don't need to try. But if you want to try, of course, you can. But I think this tutorial you'll find without bringing out your credit cards, thankfully. So let's give some time. It's gonna try to set the whole project up, and while that's happening, okay, yeah. So you're gonna see this interface. This is just sort of like an application assistant that tries to walk you through. So this is the Bubble editor. You can see, you have this assistant. You can change the name if you want to change it here. You can upload a favicon. That's this tiny thing you see here. So you can change that if you want to. You can also edit this later if you don't want to do it now. So no pressure. You can set the whole font for your application. There are different font styles. Let me just choose something fancy here. You can see there are a lot of fonts, and you can even import your own font if you're really into that kind of stuff. So you see, I'm just gonna go with this sounds German, so yeah, I'm gonna go with it. And yep, you can also choose your app colors, and but for now we won't be going too much into this. All of this can be edited later. Then the funny thing is, I'm really kind of falling in love with this font. So yep, and then we click on next step. You can also add plugins. These are extensions to Bubble. The toy Bubble is a very powerful framework, so you can actually add services to Bubble. Say for example, you want to be accepting payments in your application, you can add Stripe. You want to have a scheduling application, you can add a calendar. You want to integrate logging in with different social media, you can add this. But for now, we're just going to skip all of this, and we're going to get started with it. We can add all of this later. So now, here we are. This is what Bubble Editor looks like. I hope it's not too intimidating. I'm just going to try to explain what each and every component looks like. Okay, so the first thing I'll be talking about is, pages, because your web application obviously consists of pages. When you go to an application like Facebook, for example, you have the home page, the feed page, where you see everything your friends have been doing. Then you have your own profile page, where you see your personal profile. You have the group page, where you see interactions in a group. So you're going to see that there are different pages that you can navigate to, and you can have the same thing here in Bubble. So by default, every Bubble app comes with these 3 pages. The index page, the reset password page, and the 404 page. So these table pages are created by default. And if you want to add an extra page, you just click on add a new page and give your page a name. And then my code is the to-do page. And you can, if you have a similar page, you can clone it from there. But for this, I'm just going to click on nothing. So we're just going to start from scratch, and it's going to be a blank canvas that we can paint on. So we have this. Now that's how you create a page. It's that simple. The next thing is we need elements on our page. When you look at this page, for example, this is a pop-up. So let me just save this. I just want to show you something. So we see this. This is a web page. You see there are different elements. There are this. There's this. There's this. There are these tags. This is their description. This is an input, so you can type in things like tag people. These are texts. So you see how that there are different elements coming together. This is a button. These are different buttons coming together to make this look nice. So let me just show this again. Okay. So the same thing too, in our web application, we're gonna be bringing different elements to make our to-do app look nice. So what I'll do is let's see what this looks like, this page. Let's see what it looks like in the real world. So if you want to see what you're building, you can just click on preview. So for now, there's nothing on our page. So when we click on preview, it's going to open this new tab, and of course, there should be nothing on our app. So as you can see, we have this URL here, which kind of like has our name there with a number, the bubbles.io/version test/to-do, and it brings us to this blank page. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to add, I'm going to look at the UI and I'm going to see what we need to add. So obviously we have two lists here, to-do list and done list. So now each of these lists has a title called text. So which is a text. So I'm just going to add in a text for each one of them. And I'm going to just put in a text there, and I'm going to call it the to-do. Okay, to-do, and let's preview that now. So just a simple text added to the page, and yeah, you can see about to-do text. Yeah, nice. So I can just duplicate this text. I'm going to duplicate this text and drag it down. I'm going to have this as done. So this is to do, this is done. And under each of these there's a list. So what does a list look like in Bubble? Okay. Now, in Bubble we have different categories of elements. We have what we call visual elements. For example of this is the text I've shown you. We have the buttons, the icons, links, images, shapes. They're just simply things you see on the page. Images, maps, videos. Okay, then we have another group of elements that are referred to as containers. So these are elements that contain other elements and group them together. Say for example, you want to apply the same kind of formatting to a group of elements. You want to bring the elements together and make all of them have a black background, for example. So you can group all of them together and apply the styling to the group instead of to the individual elements. So that's where you would want to use groups. We also have pop-ups, which we'll be using also in this video when we're creating our to-do list. Then we have input fields, of course, as the name implies, these are just like enter information. So say for example, I want to, fill in a form. I want my users to fill in a form. I will typically create a to-do, a form, an input. I'll add all of this input into the form, excuse me. So these are like inputs, these are to add information, these are to group elements together, and these are to more or less display information, just think of it as input, processing, output, sort of that thing. So these are the ones displaying the visual elements, these are the ones taking in information. Then we have reusable elements, but we won't talk about those for this video. So just keeping things nice and simple, we have our text here. We want to show a list here of all the tasks, and then we also have a text here. I want to show a list here of all the done tasks. But before we go ahead, let's take a look at, for now, I think we're in a good place. We have our to-do, we have our done, then we are going to add a list to it. So let's add a list to each one of these that will hold our to-do and our done. And then from there, we're going to look at how to set up the database for this application, because we need to store our data somewhere. Remember the explanation I gave. So for a list, we use what we call a repeating group in Bubble. A group is a single one, a repeating group is a list. So I'm just going to drag in my repeating group nicely here, and it's kind of covering the downside. I'm just going to resize it, and then I'll have this here. Shift this down so that it looks a little bit nice, and then to do. So now we have this repeating group, and okay. So ignore that. That was a warning I had because my internet kind of timed out. But you would want to look out for this typically if you do not have a strong internet connection. You know, you just want to look out for when this becomes timed out. So that means anything I do in my editor now is not being saved, which, you know, you could lose work that way. So it's important that from time to time you check this doesn't time out if you have a weak internet connection. And for the purpose of this video, I would have to fix this and come back. So let's just take a break while I fix that. Thank you. Alright, so yeah, been able to fix that. We're just gonna continue building. So alright, we have I'm just gonna drag in the list here, bring this down a little bit. The list is here, topic is here. Of course, we're gonna have the list also for that, but let's just focus on this. So essentially, let's not forget the flow. The flow is we wanna have a to-do app with the list here. You're gonna create the of course, when any user comes in this app, you're gonna need to click on the plus button to create the to-do, the to-do, and then the to-do will show in here. And when you're done, you can click on the checkbox, and then it will bring it there. So I'm gonna keep that flow at the back of our mind. So the next thing we're gonna do is I'm gonna drag in the button here. I'm just gonna drag in the button, and I'm gonna drag it all the way there. So you see, all I'm just doing is I'm just dragging in elements, you know, positioning them where I want to be, and I don't need to write code for all this stuff. So that's what makes Bubble really powerful. So we just dragging the icon element is here, the third one here, and I'm just gonna search for the plus. Yeah, something like this. And give it. Did you give it any color here? Okay, we gave it the green color. Okay, let me see if I can find that. If not, okay, yeah, something like this. Sweet. So we have this. We have this. We have this list. We're also gonna just do the same thing for you. So I'm just gonna copy this, and I'm gonna paste it. I'm gonna paste, so this is duplicated, and I'm just gonna drag this one down. Now, ideally, even doing this in a real world app, what I will just do is I will finish creating all of this, then I will then duplicate it. You know, instead of creating one by one, since they're similar, I'll just finish all of this and then just duplicate it once. But since I'm trying to teach you, I'm just trying to replicate it as much as possible so that the concept sinks in. So just take note of that. Alright then, we have this. We're gonna need another list, so just duplicate this. You can also just press Ctrl D, click on it, press Ctrl D, and you have it duplicated, and you can drag it down. So we have this. The next thing we want is when we click on this button, it should show a pop-up where we can fill in the details of our form. So let's first create a pop-up, and we'll talk about how to make the pop-up show when you click this button. So under containers, you see we have pop-up here, and this is our pop-up. I'm just gonna resize it. Okay, I'm just gonna come to layout. I want it to be, let me say 500 pixels wide. This is measured in pixels. 500 pixels wide and 500 pixels tall too. So it's like a nice square there. And I'm gonna just drag in. So for now, I won't talk about this layout. You know, we're just gonna keep it fixed. As we move further in the series, we'll talk about responsiveness and things like that. So what I want in my layout, let's look at our roadmap. I want the name. And the name, the date it was created, and the the name the date it was created. For now, let's leave the date it was created. Let's replace that with the person to do it. Oh no, yeah, let's replace that with a priority. Yeah, I think that's the priority. So is it low priority, high priority, medium priority? Okay, low, medium, or high. The date is kind of, you could leave the date, but I just feel it's not really necessary to do this. I think this is more important. So we're gonna have that in here. So I'm just gonna drag in. Now each one of these are inputs. Don't forget, the user will be entering this. They will be entering the name of the app, of the to-do. They won't be entering whether it's completed or not, because by default it should be. But we can still create a field for them to enter that. You may just want to enter an app that has not been completed, or an app that has been completed, just to put it in there. Let's say you forgot to put it at the start of the day, and then at the end of the day you want to just put it there. Okay, I actually did this task, and then it's gonna just show up on that done. So we're gonna have these three fields, input field inside our app, and I'm just gonna come under input forms, and I'm just gonna drag them in 1, 2, and 3. So I'm going to try to align them. So you can see there's this blue line that shows up. Let me see if you can. There's this blue line that shows up vertically whenever it's aligned. And then we're just going to have it like this. So the placeholder, I'm just going to put in this one is name of task. So instead of type here, it's a showing of task so that you know what you're entering there. And yeah, I'm going to put in the is completed. So this completed yes or no, this should be, when you think about it, this should be a yes or no. This should be a selection. We don't really want the user typing in yes or no. We just want them to be able to click either yes or no. So I will right click on this and I will replace this, not with an input now, but with a drop down so that it can just click instead of typing in. And the placeholder will be as this task being completed. And so you see how fast we're creating the UI, without writing code, we just drag in and put in the choices. So I'm just going to put yes and then enter for no. So these are the options we'll have. If you want more options, just type them in here and press enter between each one. Let me drag this up a little. And for here, what we want in this is, let me see, the priority, yeah. So priority, this is also, when you think about it, this should also be a drop down. Because we have a fixed set of options and you just do it medium, low, and high. So I'm also going to replace this and I'm going to replace it by a drop down. So you can see all the input elements will show up here. So you can just click on anyone else that you want to. So I'm going to click on drop down. And this will be choose priority. Choose priority. And we have high, medium, and low as the options. Sweet. And yeah, that's about it. Now that I think about it, I could actually just reduce the height and width of this to be 400. It's kind of like really, really big for, this more, homey. So, we're done with this. I could just add an effect in here at the top just to show that, okay, this is create task. So this is the create task pop-up. And I'm just gonna try to centralize it. Centralize this. Okay, so nothing too fancy, just for informational purposes. Now we have our pop-up. Our pop-up is going to be called, so I'm going to name it pop-up task. So you can see the name. You can just click on the top right here, and it is also showing here. This is the pop-up task. It's very important that we give, appropriate names so that we can easily reference it later. So now that since we have all our UI out of the way, the only thing we need left is we have this plus, we have the task, we have this list, we have this pop-up. The only thing we need left is what is going to be the list, which is the name and the check mark. So, but before we do that, we need to talk a little about the database. So, we'll get to that in a bit, excuse me. So for now, let's just do some magic. Let's create this workflow, this flow. Yeah, when we click click on plus, we want to show this, that's something exciting to do. So that's what we have before we do that anyway. Let me just refresh this. You can see we have this, nice, and we have our list, although there's nothing inside yet, but we'll fix that. And then when I click on this, nothing happens yet, so let's fix that. So on this plus, when you click on it, you can see there's this add workflow. Yeah. And when I click on add workflow, these ones are essentially almost every element will have this add workflow. You can just click on the element and you can see add workflow. You can even click on the text and I see add workflow. So this workflow is where I define the behavior, and that's what makes this a web app. It can actually perform functions. Different elements can perform functions when they are clicked. So when I click on this, I can do anything. I can literally ask it to send an email to my mom telling her I love her. I can literally ask this button. When I click on it, it should debit my account and send the money to my employees. So all I just have to do is define that behavior in the workflow tab, and that will bring us to this tab, the workflow tab. So you can either click on go to the workflow tab by clicking here, and you come to this very nice interface, not so complex. Yeah, it's really this is just it, really. Yeah, kidding. So you can just go there, or you can come to the element and click on add a workflow, and it's gonna bring you here. So yeah, essentially it's the same place we are back at, and now we have this instead, because now we are going through an element. So when you read, what do we see here? When this icon, you can see it's showing that when the icon is clicked, perform an action. That's how workflows work. When this happens, do that. When this happens, do that. So we have kind of like workflows that are divided into event and action. When I jump up, I come back down. When I wake up, I scream. When I see a snake, I run. Hopefully not, or maybe. When I listen to music, I smile. So when something happens in our app, we need to define a behavior that should happen. When a user does something or doesn't do something, in fact, we need to define a behavior, and this is what workflows are. This is the meat and the power of Bubble. So for now, I'm just going to keep it simple. What I would do is, so we went through from here. And we just clicked it. So you can see this is normal add workflow. Now it is workflow because I can now come back to this workflow and edit it. But what I'm going to do is, say for example, I don't want to go through from this view from the design tab. I can just come here, click on add an event, and the event is when the icon is clicked. So we have three kinds of events. We have general events, which is when the user is logged in, for example. You could use this first when the user is logged in. You as the admin of the app wants to get an email, or when the page is loaded. You want to show, let's say, a pop-up when the page is loaded that, hey, you need to subscribe to my email list or my newsletter. So these are general events that Bubble monitors. Then there are element-based events, which are attached to particular elements. For example, when an input value is changed, when you click on an element, when you close a pop-up, or when you open a pop-up, you can also trigger actions based on this. And this is kind of like what you will see if you're familiar with tools like Make and the Zapier. This is kind of like what you see there. And then you can also define a custom event, but we're not going to talk about that now. So what we're concerned about now is the elements. When we click on an icon, we want something to happen. So we're going to be clicking when an element is clicked. Which elements? So now you can see there are two icons here because there are two icons on our page, and that's why it's important to name all our elements properly. So I'm just going to name this icon add to do. And now that I think about it, we don't really need to have an icon here, because essentially what we're doing is whenever this is what we create, and when it's done, it enters here. So we might not be needing it after all. I'm just going to delete it. Actually, it wasn't here, so it's important to follow the scope. But yeah, we have that. We can click on this, choose an icon, and then so back to our add to do, icon add to do. So when icon add to do, this is it here. You can see all our elements are showing up here. When icon add to do is clicked, what do we want? We want to show our pop-up. So here under actions, you can see this is a bigger list. Here you have the ability to do almost everything. You can navigate to another page. you can sign up a user, you can log out a user, you can reset a password, and you see all of them are nicely grouped. So on that account, we have all of this. You can make changes to a user. Under navigation, you can open an external website. Under data things, you can create a new thing. We'll still talk about data, the database, that's the next thing we'll talk about. But you can essentially create a thing and store it in the database, which, you remember the analysis I gave earlier about PayPal and your own account. So you can actually, when a user clicks on, say, send money, a button called send money, you can make a change on that user in the database, and alter the data for that particular user, so that when they come next time, they will see their new balance, which is either increased or reduced. You can delete the thing. You can also send email. You can actually even integrate payment options like Stripe, so you can actually charge a user. You can set up a recurring payment. You can set up analytics. You can do a lot of things. You can also work with elements. You can show another element, add another element, animate another element. So it's like a military job that Bubble literally gives you in this work. Like the first time I discovered this, I was very happy. I'm not gonna say the first time I discovered that you have all of this power just at the tip of your fingertips, literally. I'm literally clicking. So you can also integrate plugins, which I think if you remember at the start, Bubble was asking us during the setting up process to add plugins. So you can integrate with external plugins that other developers have built. You can leverage the power of those plugins. Say for example, a plugin like the API connector, if you want to connect to an external service, or a plugin like a PDF generator, for example, or a CSV file exporter. If you're creating an analytics tool and you want to export reports, you can download a plugin for that, and when it comes to plugins, you will see all the actions that plugin can do. You can even create your own plugins. So there's a whole lot of power packed into here, and of course there's custom events that you can also trigger custom events which you can create for yourself. But there's a whole lot of powerful stuff here. But for the purposes of this video, we're just gonna show our pop-up. So the flow is you click on this, and let me write it here, click. Okay. So it's just good to have a scope doc like this, or a prototype, something that you can easily reference when you're getting confused, and that will keep you on track. Of course, it's gonna be for a real world project, it's gonna be more complex than this. I'm just using this for the purposes of demonstration. But you're gonna have something like this that can serve as a guide for you to walk through as you're creating applications. So ideally, if you're working for say a client project, they will give you this. Also, you can develop it for yourself, for your own personal project, and there are tools and services that you can use for that. So when I click on this plus button, I want to show this pop-up. Let's do that. When add to this clicked, I'm going to go to element actions, and you see this show here. I'm going to click on show. What do I want to show? I want to show pop-up task. Yeah, that's actually the pop-up we have. Pop-up does have this nice of grouping those elements together. So you see all the texts are kind of like together, all the repeating groups are together, or the lists. Then the pop-up is here and the like. So yeah, that's it. That's all. So essentially, when we click on this now, that pop-up should show. Of course, let's do that for a spin. So I'm just going to refresh the page, and now I can click on this, and voila, we have our pop-up shown. This, if you've come this far, you're really doing well. You just have a pat in the back. You literally just made a pop-up show out of nowhere. I would tell my mom about stuff like this. But yeah, you can do that over and over. You can do that over and over. You can do that over and over. I could literally play with it all day. But yeah, you can then come in and you see this pop up. There's those options, yes and no, that we created, and then this one, high, medium, low. So with this, we are able to we have gone very far in the flow. The next thing we would want to think of is, so when a user enters this, let's say the name of the task is pick up Jerry from school. Alright. And then pick up Jerry from school by 4 p.m. Okay. So we have this. Is it completed? No, it's not completed. Sometimes I still want to do it, so it should show up in the to-do list. The priority is very high. And Jerry's my dog. Oh my. Someone else will pick up from school. I don't know Jerry's. This is hypothetical. But yeah, now the next thing how do I save this task? Because this is not the only task I'll be creating. After I pick up Derek from school, I need to probably go to the salon, I need to go to the supermarket, I need to go to church, I need to do a whole lot of stuff. So once I click out of this pop-up and all of this data gets erased, how do I ensure that it gets shown up there? That brings us to the next phase, which is the database. The database is where I store all of that data that is being entered so that it can be referenced later on. So it's not so complex, it's probably not the prettiest looking tab, but it's not as complex as it looks. So essentially the database, just think of it like a collection, think about it like a database. The Bubbles database is structured like a collection of various stratas of collection. I don't want to explain too much because you might get easily confused. What I will just do is I'll go ahead and create a data type or a database for our task to hold it, and then you will see as it is being effectuated. Show don't tell. So I'm just going to come in here under data types. There are different types. I'll come under data types. There's this existing type called user. We're not going to worry about that. We're just going to come in and create ours called task. Or no, to do. To do. And we're going to click on create. So we see there's a new one here. If I want to create more, I just come in here, for example, and we have it showing up here. But I'll delete this, I only need to do. Then under to do, I'm going to come to this right hand side, and we can see there are 4 existing fields. What's a field? A field is like a property of a data type, it's getting a little complex. Okay, so think of a data type as a human being. You have your properties. Let's say your feeling, okay? Now, feel is going to have his own properties. Feel is going to have his height, his weight, his gender, his phobia, his religion, maybe. So, feel is going to have all of these attributes about him, and all of this is what makes up feel. So, now, as Phil has all these attributes, Jane also has all her attributes, Peter also has all his attributes. In fact, every human has all his attributes. So you can think of user, for example, as someone like Phil. Phil will have an email and the likes. And if someone that is signing up for your application, they have all their properties. And all the data they will be relating to inside the application, so we have the different properties. Say for example, the to-do they will be creating, there will be different properties on the to-do, whatever else they will be creating. Let's say it's a social media, every post they will be creating will have properties. The post will have its image, the title, and the likes. So this is a simple application with only the to-do type, and the fields on it are the ones we've identified inside our scope doc. So the task details will be the name, the is completed, and the priority. These are the fields. When we're talking about it earlier, we were talking about it in terms of the properties, but now when we're translating it into Bubble, we're just gonna create them out as fields, and this is what we'll be storing in the database. So it might be a little confusing to wrap around at the start, but as you see this being appropriated, it will probably sink in more, hopefully, and you would also be able to replicate the same thing in your application. So we have this to do, and I'm just going to transfer all those fields here, and the name, and then the type. What should be the type of this field? So when talking about the name, usually we have several types in Bubble, several data types. The data type is the type of the data. Let me see how I can explain that to make it clear. So when we're talking about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, those are numbers. Okay? When we're talking about Philip, Joe, Emmanuel, Simon, Kate, tall, short, C9. Those are words or texts or strings, depending on if you're coming from programming background. Those are like words. So that's another type in Bubble. We're talking about dates, for example, 7th January, 2nd December, Tuesday. Those are dates, and Bubble stores them as dates. So it's important that we store data this way so that we can easily manipulate the data. Okay? Say for example, if I want to to add all the monies that has passed through a user's account, it's important that I store that field as a number so that I can perform arithmetic on it. But if I store it as a text, for example, I can store number 2 as a text. It will still hold it, but I cannot add a text, even though 2 is stored as a text. I don't know if that's a little confusing, but let me see if I can do anything graphical. So we have 2, and then we have 2. Now, this 2 can be, this is the text 2, and we can have it as 2a, 2b, a squared. This 2 is a text. It can even be part of my name, let me see, my name is Mr. 2, for example. So this is not 2 as this other 2. This other 2, let me use another color for it. This other 2 can be added to, say, 2 plus 4. It's not the same thing as Mr. 2, because this 2 could mean anything in my Mr. 2. But here we know that it is the value 2. So these are some of the distinctions you have to familiarize yourself with when you're learning programming and development in general. Data types, there are going to be quite a number of data types you'll be working with, but the most important ones are text and numbers. Then I also mentioned dates. You also have yes or no fields, which are true or false fields. For example, we talked about the task being completed or not. So that's a yes or no field because we're considering has this task been completed or is it yet to be completed. It can only be yes or no. So we also have files and images. These are pretty intuitive. And that useful thing to note is that you can also have a data type you created as a data type. But just hold that in your left hand. Don't bother about it. Let's just work with the basic types we have. So field type, name, of course, that's going to be a text. Guess right. And for what other field do we have? Is completed. Of course, that's going to be a yes, no. So we want to know if the task is completed. And the field type is going to be yes, no. Just right here. What other thing do we have? The priority. The priority is going to be seen as the text. Now, I don't want to go too deep, but know that the best way to treat this is not as a text. We have what we call option sets in Bubble, which I will be discussing in a later series. But when you have options like this, that are more than 2, when there are 2, usually, or when there's like yes or no, you want to go with the yes or no field. But when there are more than 2, for example, we have high, low, and medium, you want to create an option set for it, so that you can just easily choose from the option set. But for the purpose of this video, we can just work with text. So our priority will be a text, either HIGHI, LOW, low, or MEDIUM, medium. And yeah, that's it. We have set up our data type successfully. The to-do data type has been successfully set up. One thing to note is you can click on this and create a comment. This is the data storage for our task. So this is just good practice when you're developing to leave comments at different places in your application so that someone else taking up this application, let's say you're working for a company, if you have to leave someone else, another developer can easily come on board and walk through your application and really see what's going on without needing to contact you, which is a very good attribute of a developer. So with that said, we have our to-do with all the 3 types identified in our scope document. Now we can get to creating and storing our data. So we've come a long way. We've created our UI, we have our pop-up, we have our input fields, we even have our workflow to show the pop-up. All that's left is taking all that data, storing it inside the database, and then displaying it inside our lists. Okay, so let's come back here. Now, we show the pop-up. The next thing is when the pop-up is closed, we're assuming you're done entering information, we want to save that information in the database. So what that would look like is, inside the pop-up, I'm just going to create a button. I didn't add it earlier because we didn't need it, but now obviously we need it. I'm going to put this button in here, and the button is just going to be save. I'm going to put the text on it, save task. So you see now that we're just dragging the elements we need, we're adding workflows on it, and we're creating a web application without even breaking a sweat. That's the power of nocode. So we save task. this button, when I click on it, what I want to do, I want to take all the information in each of these inputs and store it inside the database, so that the next time you want to enter information, this has been cleared, but your data is in the database. So I'm going to go to save task, I'm going to add a workflow, remember what we did earlier. And here now, where are we going to go to? Which section are we going to go to? Yeah, guessed it. We're going to go to data things, because we want to store it in the database. So we're going to create a data. We're going to create a data, and we're going to come to this first item, create a new thing here. So we create a new thing, we're going to create something in the database, and what are we going to create? We're going to create a to-do. You know, you see, so this to-do that we created, that we typed in here, now we can create it here. You know, if we hadn't created that store, we wouldn't have this here. So now we can click on to-do, and then we can see those fields here. So the fields we created on that to-do, now we can simply store each of the inputs from the user inside each of these fields, and then it will be stored in the bubble server. So this is, just think of this like you creating, if you've ever been in a manufacturing pipeline, you know, or in a factory, think about it creating new pieces of equipment, and then you can simply get the parts from the production line, assemble it together, and create a new piece. You know, let's say we're creating this mug, for example. I'm gonna get this handle from somewhere else. I'm gonna get the mug itself from somewhere else. I'm gonna join it together, and I'm just gonna write on it. This is say mug 1. I'm gonna do the next mug 2. So every time I create a new mug, I'm just gonna put an ID number on it to identify that mug, and this is gonna be important. This is gonna be an important concept, because we're gonna be creating a lot of data under this to-do, and each one must have its own unique ID, so to say. So right here, I'm just gonna wire it up. So this completed. There's the drop. So essentially, I'm gonna get the value from each one of this to drop down. So I'm gonna wire it to our data thing. So this is input name of task. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna set the name to be input name of task. So you can just simply type into search. If you're gonna you see this input name of task value is gonna store inside name. For priority, I'm gonna type in that too. The drop down choose priorities value will be stored inside the priority, and the is completed drop downs value is gonna store inside the is completed. So there's a slight problem here. What's it called now? Whenever you see this red, you know, whenever you click on an expression and it turns red, that shows there's an issue. You can also see it up here in the issue checker. So the reason for this is, let's see the reason for this. I know it, but let's see. Now it says create a to-do's value should be yes or no, but right now it's the text. Now what this means is when you come inside your to-do, when we come to our to-do, we created this is completed to be is yes or no. So that means it can only take yes or no type data, not text. But when we come to our design and we see this particular input, the content format is text. The content format is text. So it's gonna be accepting a text from the user, but it cannot store that text in the database, because our is completed was created as a yes no field. So how can we fix this? We can either change it in the database to accept text, or we can oh no, I'm clicking on the wrong drop down. Yeah, it should be this. So now this is okay. So this is we have this here, which can either be changed in the database to be yes or no, as I said earlier, or here it can be refactored to stop. So this, as you can see, this is what we have is text that I manually entered, and yes or no is defined in Bubble as another type entirely. So you're gonna get used to the concept of types over time, but essentially it's good that we have this error so that we can see how to fix it together. So what I would do here is, for the purpose of this video, what I would do, or what I would suggest, is we could change this from being, say, a drop down to a checkbox, for example. So we can make it a checkbox. Then, so it's essentially a checkbox is completed. So when you click on this checkbox, we know that okay, this task has not been completed, and when it's not clicked, it has been completed. So what we're looking at in the workflow is if this checkbox has been clicked. If it has been clicked, then set that is completed to be a yes. Yeah. So let me go back to the workflow, create a new to do. Now here is it. So when this checkbox is checked, then that means it is completed. If it's not checked, so it will check this expression. If this is not checked, then this will be a no. So essentially when you're looking, this is what our pop-up looks like now. It's still the old one. I'll just click on this green bar to this black bar to refresh. Let me check if I'm still recording. Okay, we're still recording. So I'm just gonna click on this. It has shown this, and then I can click on this. You can see, I can click on this, and then this will tell us if task is completed or not. So what I want to do is I'm just going to reposition this so that it looks a little more saggy. I'm going to just bring this up. I'm going to bring this up. I'm going to drag this down. I'm going to reposition this, and then I'm going to call this task mark task completed. Just mark task as completed, so that when you click on this, you know that this is completed. And by default, we want it unchecked. If you want, you can make it check by default. So then the user has to uncheck. So that's up to you. But whenever this is checked, this task being created will be marked as created essentially. And so we are attaching all that to this button. Create a new to do. Then of course, once it has been created, we want to clear all of the inputs so that the next person using that input or that form has it available, or when you're clicking it again, you have it available, since it's kind of like actually different for each person. But for you, you always want that form to be cleared the next time you want to add a task. And lastly, we want to hide this pop-up that we showed. So after we're done, we just want to hide this pop-up. So we have our flow then. We click on the pop-up, we show this, we create a task, and then we hide it. So name of the task, Jerry up. My typing sucks. Pick Jerry up. And then priority, medium, mark as completed, save task. Yay, but where's our task? Okay, easy now. There's one more step we need to follow. So we have our task in the database. You don't believe me? Let me show you. When it comes to data, on the to-do, come to app data. You can see we have this pick Jerry up. It's completed, yes. The star was minus command priorities, medium is created today. The time 12:16. So this actually exists in the database. Okay. But we need to show it inside our list, which is like the final or almost final phase of this interesting, session. So we have to come back to our list and sort of fetch it, pull that data from the database, and show it inside the list. So I'm going to come to this repeating group. I'm just going to rename it. I'm going to call it repeating group tasks, and tasks not done. Okay. And then inside there, the type of content will be to do. Remember our to do that we created. And then the data source. So we have several ways of getting data in. The one you'll be using the most is do a search for, which is you're just searching the database for that data. The site will be our to do. We're just searching for all the to do's in the database, and we are bringing them in here. So don't forget, we said here we want to show the tasks that are not marked as completed. So we can add a constraint, and the constraint is we just want to search for to-dos whose is completed is no, equals to no. So Bubble kind of knows the options to give you yes, since you've set the data type. It knows this is a yes or no field, and the options it will bring here are related options. So we're looking for, we want to search for all the tools, or all the to-dos My apologies. All the to-dos that they are not completed. Is completed is no, that means they are not completed. Okay, and we're gonna put them inside this list. Then inside the list we need to have a text to then show. Don't forget our UI. We're gonna have a name, each one of the names over here, and then a button to mark it as complete, or an icon rather, to mark it as, complete or not. So I'm just gonna look for check mark, yeah, something like this. What color did we give it here? Okay, the same green. Alright, let me just shift this a little towards the edge, and then we have this, and then so now data will be entering here dynamically. Each of these text will not be editable, so there will be the name of the text. So when we click on inside dynamic data, we have this. Okay, let's talk about this a little bit. So inside this list, you can see that there are like 4 different rows, and inside each of these rows, what will happen is Bubble will go into the database and get all the data that we've sought for here, all the to-dos that are not completed, and pass each one of them to this row. So inside this row, there will be a different to-do. Inside this row, there will be a different to-do. Inside this row, there will be a different to-do. Inside this row, there will be a different to-do. All populating this list. And then we can then pull out from each of the to-dos that are inside this list the different data. So if the to-do that is here is pick up Jerry will be here. If the to-do that is here is talk to mom, that will be pulled in here. If the to-do that is here is record this video, that will be here. So Bubble kind of automatically does that. It pulls it out from the database, it spreads it here. All you just have to do is pull in the data here. So I'm just going to click on this, click on insert dynamic data. If you don't see insert dynamic data, you can just try to click out and click in again, and you're going to see it. And then we're going to get the current sales to do that, the to-do that is in this row, or the data that is in this row, and then I'm going to get the fields. So you can see the fields that are in there is completed in priority. There are also some other fields which are automatically created by Bubble. I think I've talked about this one, the unique ID that every single data that's created has, and the likes. But the one that we created is the one that we want is the name. So we're just going to pull out the name out of that. Pretty nice. The name. So that's it. Then of course we need to add a workflow here, where I have this timeout in it's the weekend here, so there's usually some disruptions in internet services. But what I would just do is I'm gonna try to fix this again, and then we can just wrap up the rest of the video from there. So what's just left is, adding a workflow where you click on this and the task comes all the way here, showing that it has been done, and we can mark this video what this particular session has done. So I'll be right back. Alright, so to complete that, we've never been able to resolve that. To complete up our to-do app, let me just say like the third phase, we're gonna be adding a workflow on this button so that when you click on it, it's going to make this it's gonna make this task come here. So what I would do very quickly is the same way we have a search for tools here where it is completed is no, we need to have a search for tools here where it is completed is yes. So essentially we have all the data in the back end and Bubble is just looking. Once it's completed, put it here. If it's not completed, put it here. Bubble kind of automatically does that based on the expression we write here. So this is referred to in Bubble as an expression. So I'm just going to copy this expression. I'll right click on it, click on copy expression. I'll click here and I'll click on paste expression. I'll set the type to be to do. So this would be for, then I'll change this to yes. So when it is completed is yes. This is the list for that. Okay. So let me see, we have one issue. What's that? Alright, so this is the current sales to do's name. Yeah. we're gonna get the name in here. So let's just preview this. I'll just preview this. Give me a sec. Alright, so we should have to do showing up in here, but it's not showing up. We should have we've created one. Let me create another task. The priority is medium. It's not complete. So as we can see, we have this one here. Another task. Then I'm just gonna create another one. Second task. I also not completed. So we have these two tasks showing up here. Then, so what I'm just gonna do is inside here too, we need to add the text in. So you remember the first task we created that was marked as completed? It's actually inside here, but it's not showing because there's no text. There's no text element to show it. So I'm just gonna put in a text element here. This one doesn't need to have, doesn't need to have this check mark. Or actually, we could have an icon here for. I'm just gonna put an X icon there, so which shows that okay, it has actually not been completed. So it's kind of like, when you mark the checkbox, it's coming, and when you cross it, it goes back. So let's say you thought it completed the task, but then hey, it's not completed. I want you to go back to the to-do section. So why is it really hard finding an X? Let me see. Is there any X here? There really isn't, man. Check mark. Okay, I'm just gonna put this up, more like an up thing, and I'm gonna put the color red. So send it back up, something like that. Alright, so this works. And of course, as with our move, I'll put the current sales to do's name. So this is coming in here. If you have the data here but you don't have this text to show, you won't see the data. So that's very important to note. When you're working with repeating groups and bubble, that's something to note. If you don't have this, like a conduit where the data shows through. So the group itself can hold the data, but you need a visual element to show the data. You remember when I was explaining this? Another thing to note is if you have a visual element, but you don't have data inside the repeating group. So if the repeating group does not have data inside it, but you have a visual element, it still won't show. What I mean by that is, look, let me preview this. It's taking some time to load. Okay, I think it's loading already. So you see, we have this here where we have the picture of the first task. Okay, but what I'm trying to say is, if there was this text wasn't there, we didn't see it as earlier. Another thing is, if this text is there, but let's say we don't have the data source here, for example, but we have the text there, but we don't have the data source. Now, what would happen is that we wouldn't see any data here because there is no current sales to do. There's no to do here. There's no data coming in. So it's important that when if you see that your repeating group is not displaying data, it's not showing up, just check if your data source is, if it's functioning as it should. So this is when this completed is yes, and I'm just gonna put that back. Alright, then. Another thing you can have in Bubble, you have this back and forth. So if you make a change and you want to revert, you can just click through here to undo or redo. So that's an handy tool. I'm just gonna try to position this nicely so that it aligns with this. Okay. Then I'll do the same thing for here too. So you see that I only have to do this once. I only have to do it for the first row, and then it repeats itself. This is why it's called a repeating group. So I can make this, let's say I can make this 5, or I can increase the number of cells just going through there. I can also increase the number of columns. Currently it's 1 column. I can have it as 2 columns, but 1 is fine. And if you don't want it to be a fixed number of rows, let's say you don't know how long the list will be, you can also uncheck this, and then it's just going to grow dynamically. So, but for now, we're going to leave it at 5, we're going to leave this 2 at 5. And then, with this, we just need to put a workflow here on this. We're going to add a workflow so that when this is clicked, we want the current cells to do, the current to do on this cell, we want to mark it as complete. So I'm going to add a workflow there, and just close this. When this is clicked, when this icon is clicked, I want to make changes to a thing. So I'm still going to go to data thing, and I'm going to come to make changes to a thing. I want to make change to the current cells thing, the current to do. So I'm going to make changes to the current cells to do. And what do I want to change? Which field do I want to change? The is completed. I want to change it to yes. So it becomes a yes whenever I click on this button, and it will automatically leave this repeating group, because this repeating group only holds to-dos that the is completed is no. So all of that is kind of intelligently happening on the bubble server. And the same thing too for here, I will just put the opposite here. When this is clicked, I'm going to make changes to the thing, the current cells to do, and I'll set it is completed to no. So I'm saying that it is no more complete. Go back up. If I mark the checkbox, it goes down. And yeah, that should be it. So let's refresh this and just give this a spin. So we have our list here, we have this here. I'm going to add another task. I'm going to throw a third task. The priority will be I, and I'm going to save task. And I just realized we're not actually displaying priority here. So you could add that in your app, for example. You can add another text here that shows the priority of the current sales task. But then what I will then do is I'll click on this another task, and as you can see, it comes here now. So it's no more in the to-do, it's now in the done. If I want to send it back up, I click on this and it goes back up. I can click on third task and it's here, and I can click on it again, it goes back up. I can send this back up. So we see how that we have a very simple to-do list here, which you can, modify as you want, and it functions as appropriate. So the last thing I want to leave you with is I want you to try to build this on your own. I will be dropping some of the materials that I used. I'll be dropping the link to this. I'll just try to get it across, as well as the bubble editor, so that you can also go through everything that we have here. We don't modify anything. So you can also add more features. For example, the priority. You can add more fields to your task. Let's say the assignee, the person who's to do the task. If it's, say, a project management system and it's not only you, so you can have like 3 different fields here: the name of the task, the assignee, and the priority. You can you can add more fields here. You can also add, let's say, you can create more categories. Instead of to do and done, you can have to do, in progress, and done. So you can have another list here, and then you'll be looking at how to change a task status from not just yes, no now, but the to do, in progress, and done. So the best case for that will be using the option set, which is not correct, but it's good to push your boundaries and try new things. And do let me know if you have any questions. Feel free to reach out to me via email or LinkedIn. All my contact details will be in the description for this video. And yeah, I guess that's it. Okay, let me show you one cool thing before we go. So every time we click on any of these workflows, what if we want to know what's actually happening behind the scenes? So we have this tool here called the debugger. I'm going to make a separate video on it, but I just want to show you real quick what is happening. So if I go to step by step and I click on this, you can see that the same thing that's happening in the editor is when icon FAFA is clicked, which is this, make changes to do. So this is it. When I click on run next, make changes to do. What to change? The current cells to do, which you can click, and what does the change to set is completed to yes, which is exactly what we are defining here. So essentially what is happening in the front end here, you can actually go through it step by step to see it. So if, for example, something is not working fine, you can actually use this debugger to see that, okay, maybe the workflow is not running well, or maybe I'm changing the wrong field, and you can easily correct that. So set all my tasks to done. And now that I think about it, this is not a bad interface. I mean, this is something you could easily build for a client, maybe, or for a project, or even just for yourself. You know, you're gonna have the tasks here, and you can easily mark them as done or not, and you can also easily pull it back up. So that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and see you in the next one. Bye for now.